We are now going live on TradingView to present the market assets that look pretty good after this Mideast tension in Israel today on October 9th. So let me just go live. Okay, so we're going live. Hold it on. Hold on. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. It's Brian here from quantlabs.net. So today I'm going to keep this capped at 1 hour just so people know. And yeah, so we're going to keep this capped at 1 hour. Going to go over two posts I posted this morning about this Mideast thing. Hello, Peppy. We're going to keep this, like I said, 1 hour. Got two posts here. One for this morning, what was moving back then, and this is using again Oanda data along with Forex data as well from Oanda. And then we also have one I just posted like an hour ago. So let's go through this one first. If you got any questions, just chime on in, jump on in for participation. Okay, so let me pull up my good old. So that's the list right there. We'll go through. Moving it off screen here, and then I've got my trading view. One big difference between this week is I'm not having a little loudmouth chihuahua around to make life difficult. So we have addressed that problem. Okay, so let's talk about currencies first. There's a couple of obvious instruments that moved today, this morning. Today's October 9th. It's our Canadian uh, Thanksgiving, so people are off on Monday in lieu of Thanksgiving for here in Canada. I know the rest of the world's open. So let's start with the first one, which is I'm looking at here of the week. Well, let me first start with this one. This is the pretty obvious one. Is the Mexican peso is proven to be a strange forex or a currency pair that you wouldn't think is performing. Um, geez, let me just yeah, let me pull Oanda up. Okay, so we're in sync with the data and the chart. Okay, so I don't know why this is not running. Oh, well, I don't know why this is okay. This is not a good thing. Okay. USD launch chart. Let's hope this works. Hope there's not a new bug in TradingView. It's very rare for me to see that. Looks like we have our chart. Yeah, here we go. Right on, right on, right on. So let me pull up a hourly chart here. Maybe the 4 hour might be better. So you can see here, since September 23rd, USD Mexican peso has rallied, still has rallied, still after all this stuff that's been going on yesterday or Saturday. So it has not weakened at all. So that's one pair to look for. The question will always be, when will this come down? It's hard to say. But so far, this one has proven to hold tight in its rally for that. Now, the other one that most people will know about is BCO or Brent crude oil. Um, let's see here. We are looking for, I let me see if I can pull up WTI West Texas crude oil. There we go. So it's in Atlanta here. Obviously, oh man. Hello, hello. We got buffering problems here. Let me just see what's going on here. My apologies. I'm gonna have to just bear with me for a second here. Nothing's running on my computer here. Don't know. I think this has got to be a problem with with uh with trade last week as well, where it just dropped my connection. I'm gonna keep my eyes on for the buffering notification on this, so hopefully this will get cleared up. Anyways, all right. So like I was saying for the WTI, it came like there was a prediction I'd be making at $94, and guess where it was? Just 95, and it dropped back on that last rally. So it did a nice, they said about 4 or 5% rally today, and now it's kind of gone range bound. Now the question is, will it start to rally again? So if I pull up a 1 hour time frame, you could see it's clearly gone range bound. So all of these um, particular instruments might not be sustainable long term. I will show you some that have proven to be sustainable over the last few months, but it has nothing to do with what happened in Israel. So this one may drop back again. It's hard to say. Uh, I did put up a note when bad things happen, like anything that involves kind of any kind of conflict. Usually, oil will rally because of a concern of supply. And I just heard earlier today how I'm not sure which line it was. I think it was Chevron. They had to disable the pipelines into Gaza because they thought that they would be attacks would happen on them. But they were doing that anyways under the Israeli defense minister, anyhow. So it's things like that that may drive up the price of oil long term, short term. Nobody knows. But when it's range bound, it's hard to say which way it will go. Okay, so let me show you one that should continue to move up. Don't expect this to go gangbusters. So this one's the euro, Turkish lira. I don't think any of the countries will get involved in this conflict. They just don't want to. Just there's no gain for them. But you can see here on a 1 hour rally. So it's not much, 28.75 to 29.33. Not much of a rally, but the thing to take away from this is on a daily view. You can see it's rallied quite a bit and it's kind of gone into this holding pattern. So there's the volume there. So when you see big volume, green bars like that, that you may be safe to say anticipate a rally to continue. So if you look at a 4 hour, looks like it is, but there's some volatility obviously in there. On the 1 hour, same thing. But typically anything in Turkish lira is going to be volatile anyways, so I can't say anything about it. But if you look at the let's say uh, a year to date view, as I said, you can see that big rally there. 1 year, same thing. 5 year, it's just been constantly going up over the last 5 years. So, it may go range bound, but this could continue to drive up with this conflict if it goes long term. So that's one of potentially a safer one that may get driven up. As I said, if you got questions, let me know. All right, so there's that one. We've talked about USD Mexico. Um, let me excuse me. Excuse me. So I want to show you silver has been responding as well. Not gold. Um, not gold, but silver and euro did move. So if I pull up a 1 day, you can see it's sort of spiking there. Again, this is really hard to say because you can see the volatility there. That's all of September, and they've always said that September is one of the most volatile months of the year. So again, this may not be sustainable, but it did spike. When you also look at gold and euro as well, um, you'll see the same kind of move. Now you may go, how does that compare to uh, in US dollar? So if I show you that, let's say gold in US dollar, you'll see that the US dollar is pretty well in line with the euro. So let me show you that as well, the US dollar. So I'll show you the dollar index, currency index. So that's the DXY. This one was quite surprising for me. As I said, this was rallying pretty good from July up until here, October 2nd, and it's dropped back now to $1.06. This is a surprise because I thought this would continue to drive up. Now, in the next few days, if it should, I'm not saying it will, but it should rally because this is still a safe haven. And even if the bonds in the US go up, so does the US dollar. That's typical of how that's supposed to move. Let me know if you got any questions so far on that. So that's the US dollar. Um, so long term, I would probably look into the dollar. And I say that again, I've said this before. If you look at the 5 year and how it responded in 2022, when things get risky, so does the dollar, it rallies. When the liquidity comes in, it drops back, and you can see what's been happening all this year as well. So, which brings me to one I should mention here is I've used this quite a lot, and it's fairly reliable as a gold silver ratio. So in here we've got uh, a weekly chart here. So you can see how it's gone range bound. But last year when the pandemic set in, you can see it spiked. So this is a weekly view. So it spiked, it dropped back down once the Fed started pumping more liquidity and just pumping money in the US economy, and it's kind of gone range bound. And you can see here it's still range bound. When you look at the daily, let me just pull up a 1 day view. So you could see here going back to August, it's been fairly range bound. It's been slightly elevated, but more importantly is this view. So I've always shown this before, just to give you a historical view of this. This is where the financial crisis began, spiked, and it dropped back with liquidity being pumped into the U.S. economy by the Fed. And then that's how and what led to this massive recovery up until 2019. Along comes the pandemic. You can see what happened again. More money gets pumped into the economy of the US. Now this is $6 trillion. And you can see that it's starting to move up a bit and it's gone range bound. But the real concern is when you look at the peak of what happened in 2008 under normal circumstances with no crisis. Well, there is a crisis, an underlying crisis called $33 trillion of debt. You can see how the gold silver ratio is now elevated. So there will be something brewing. They say it may happen the next few weeks of a crash. It could suddenly spike up. I can't say, but that's something to really watch tightly as well. And that could, if you want to trade it as a CFD on Oanda, you probably could. Of course, you can't do that in US. Okay, so there's that. If you got any questions, let me know. All right, so I'm just going to come back to my list here. Um, Now I've shown you the ones that are moving today. There's a few more. Um, okay, let's talk about going back to gold. So this is gold, silver. So let's do a comparison with gold and US dollar. Now, considering what happened in Israel, you'd think gold would spike. Now, the question is, did it spike? Well, not really. Okay, so why is that? So let me get rid of this one and I'll start focusing on gold and looking at the different currencies out there to compare this to. So, um, yeah, so let me just bring in gold and US dollar. And here on a daily view, you would expect gold to move up, and instead it moved down. And you got to ask yourself, why is that? That's not normal. If there's a calamity in the world, gold should spike. But when you look at, I think that's a monthly view. Sorry, let me pull up a daily view. Just want to make, okay, so it did sort of spike. Okay, so it did spike a little bit. But when you compare that back to, let's say, a typical natural gold move, gold in Turkish lira, let's say. This is the one to watch. So let me bring just this comparison here back to gold and US dollar. Okay, so you can see here gold in US dollars right here. So it moved up a little bit. Here it moved up quite a bit. The other thing you need to concern yourself is if you want to know and trade gold properly, I'd watch how it's trading in in the Turkish lira. Because when you factor in all the risk of the government shutdown, the government, blah, 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 the debt, $2 trillion debt potentially this year, the deficit, yeah, gold should be moving up. And you can see quite clearly that seems to be the case in Turkish lira, whereas it's manipulated in US dollar and the US markets. That could be said right across the board in euro, as I can show you, and all the major Western currencies, except for the lira, because no one's manipulating the lira, right? So you can see here, gold should be a lot higher considering what's going on than 2%, 11%, whereas it's gone up 63%. So if you want to trade gold, it's not very volatile. It's still fairly stable in price, but you want to get true moves of what you would expect from gold, go with gold and Turkish lira. So this is the one to watch to see what happens in the Mideast. Okay, that's the one. That's your real risk factor you watch for gold. And I'm just curious as well. Let me get rid of this one, and then we'll compare if I can get it silver and Turkish lira. I'm sure I can do that. Um, so there you go again. So similar moves with silver and Turkish lira. That's the one to watch, not where the manipulation's happening in the West. Okay, that's important to understand. Any questions on that? No. Okay. All right. So I'm going to continue moving along. So we're going to go back to the major ones of the defense, the safe havens that used to be safe havens. So let me get rid of this one. Now, one of them I've gone on and on about is the USD Japanese yen. This is a really good one to have for sure in your portfolio. But you can see here it's kind of been dropping off. The reason this is dropping off, just like here, are people are getting worried about government Bank of Japan intervention. So they may intervene. They intervene here, and you can see that big drop off. They may intervene here, and it may drop, but they will have a supposed loose policy on the yen, so it may recover. Okay, so I wouldn't quite yet dive into the USD Japanese yen. If you've taken profit so far and you've done okay, congrats. Wait for the BOJ to step in, intervene, and then at that point afterwards, it probably will continue to move up. This is a safe haven. And how do I know that? Again, watch what happened in 2022. Okay, so you can see that moved up. It's moving up now, and this is one of those safe haven plays as well, and especially with what's happened in the yen, or sorry, in Israel. And when you look at 5-day view, you can see what happened, right? It spooked that trade. Okay, and along will come that intervention as well to drop it back further. That's what I'm saying. How do I know that? Well, the Federal Reserve did meet with the Bank of Japan. So they're coordinating something. I don't know. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, another one to watch out of that lot is the USD Swiss franc as well. Now, this one's a little different. Now, if I showed you a 1 year view, you can see there it's been moving up pretty good, but here it's been dropping back again. So this one's a little different. Again, let me show you, I don't know, the 5 year. See what happened in 2022. That's your metric to say everything went to hell in a handbasket. What moved last year? I'm showing them to you. The USD Swiss franc, USD Japanese yen. Boom. Okay, so what's happening here? Quite simply, is another potential for the Bank of Switzerland, the Swiss National Bank, may intervene again and manipulate the franc because you have to remember what happened when they depegged. Let me see, all time. There was an all time here. I can't remember what year, but in the last 5 years, I can't remember the exact time, but they depegged from the euro and it dropped back. I believe it was 20%. So beware of that because that may happen again. Because what happens is for the locals in Switzerland, um, as the Swiss franc weakens, it becomes more expensive for the locals in Switzerland to buy product that's imported in the country, and it becomes more expensive because the Swiss franc is too high when they import those products, and then they are much more expensive. Said the same thing with the DXY as well, the dollar index, because that's why that's dropping, because maybe they want to stimulate the U.S. economy through exports because now the U.S. dollar is cheaper. That makes sense as well. All right, so let me know if that makes sense. If you guys got questions on that, so those are the two major currencies to watch. Just still going through my major list here. There's some smaller ones that are interesting to watch. Um, One that's been moving pretty good. Actually, let me show you this one. So traditionally, the two currencies you stay away from are Turkish lira and the South African rand. Now, I've shown you already what's happening with the Turkish lira, and up until a point that they let the currency deflate. They brought in a new finance minister, and they're somewhat trying to control the situation on the lira. So you're seeing that strengthen. The other one to watch is this one, and again, I don't know if this is a long term trend, but if things get really bad in the upside down world we live in high debt, check out what's going on with the rand as well. Okay, so the rand is moving now too, and who would think, right? Now, one of the things you need to understand about these kind of currencies is spread cost. So the spread cost will be fairly high. What you could do is potentially, if there's out there a a an ETF that you could get exposed to on the South African rand and maybe short that. I don't know, just saying. Um, and leave it at that. But that's the rand, that's the trend, and that's another weird one that theoretically shouldn't be happening. Okay, so continuing along, this one as well. This one you wouldn't think as well. Now, this is unique for Oanda, the Czech. I don't know the name of the currency, but it's Czech as well. Similar thing. It's starting to rally as well. Um, Let me show you a 3 month view. You can see it says rallying as well, and it's kind of rallying in a nice way where it's the dips aren't as bad, like just similar to the lira to the Japanese yen. So this is another interesting one to watch, and this could continue to rally and seems to have no effect by what happened in Israel. So I don't know what to tell you there. Any questions so far? Okay. I can keep going. What I'm saying is right now the forex are the ones that are moving, not a lot, but consistently if things get really bad. Um, I've already shown you the silver and gold moves. I've got here silver and Japanese yen moved as well. Um, Ones that were kind of moving prior was the Scandinavian. So if I showed you USD Norwegian krone, you can see it's kind of dropped back. That's why it's not on my top pick list because of this. Because now the Norwegian's strengthening. That could be the something in the economy news. They have a wealth fund. I would have said it's the gold oil price, but maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know because this currency is tied to the oil performance as well. Another one to watch Scandinavian wise is the USD Swedish krona. You can see here it had a nice rally here, and then it's kind of flattening out. So not much going on there. But what I will say, if things go bad again, watch this one probably start to rally as well. Another one, I don't know if I showed this, is the USD Denmark. DKK, um, Danish krone as well. You can see that one's still holding on to its trend as well. So this may rally as well after a few days of the conflict in the Middle East. Not saying it will or won't, but it could. Uh, that's all I'm seeing right now on this morning's post. And as I said, I got one for a few hours ago. So I'm going to load those up as well. Here's the list. Um, this might be another, let's look for anything unique in here. How we all doing out there? Okay. So I wish I could give you more exciting stuff to show you, but this is all I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm looking at the last few hours. So this will go into the Asian trade as well. So we've got here, I'm not sure if I showed you this one, the Euro Turkish lira, um, as well. So you can see that it's kind of rallying a little bit there. That's a 1 hour time frame. Let's look at the year to date. Another similar, yeah, I showed this before. This is what you want to watch right here. As more volume starts to build on the positive volume on the green side, so this may start to move up because of this volume. If that spikes, it's to continue. So that's just to verify what to look for if this will continue to move up. Um, okay. I've got here some Hong Kong as well, Australian Hong Kong dollar. So you can imagine this has got nothing to do with the Mideast, and it shouldn't be all that bad. But you can see here, this is kind of rallying. Again, I don't know if that means anything. I'm also seeing here the Deutsche 10-year bond. Yeah. So this is the bund actually. Let's see that big spike there. So that might be another place where international might be going into. I'm not seeing that with the uh, U.S. I don't know. Let's say short-term 2 year, a U.S. bond 2 year. I don't know. I don't think I can see that on. Let's see. I don't think I can see that. Yeah, I don't think you can see that on TradingView on the 2 year bond. But I think that might move up. But this one was an interesting one. How that spiked on the bund as well. So we've got the usual. Australia's weakening. There's a whole pile of them. So here's the Australian US dollar. Again, I don't think it means anything considering these big moves down. Gold and Hong Kong dollar. Let's see that. This might perform a little better than the Western currencies as well. I mean, not as much as the Turkish lira, but see that one. So you can see that big move there as well. Let me just pull up 5 day. Yeah, so since October 6th, it's moved up quite a bit. How does that compare to, let's say, again, the Canadian, the U.S. dollar as well? Pretty well in line. How's that compare yet again to the lira? So since Friday, which would give you a better return. Yeah, so you're going to get a little bit of a bump in the Turkish lira. Okay, trying to think of anything else out there. The markets rallied today a little bit. I'm surprised. I think a lot of people were surprised by this uh, as well. As you can see there. Let me just get rid of these two. You can see that spiked quite nicely actually since Friday from 4/20/24 to 4/30/35. So that's the S&P 500. The funny thing is when you compare that to the Nasdaq, it was a long time where the Nasdaq was outperforming uh, the S&P, the New York S&P. But Yeah, you can see that slight difference there, 1.54 for NASDAQ versus negative 0.39. But let's say if we compare that to a monthly view, you can see here it's still edging. It's not losing as much, but let's say if I did a 5 day, uh, so it looks like yeah, the Nasdaq still outperforms. Okay, there's not much else to show you. I can show you the one that was performing, which was the USD Polish zloty, um, right here. And let me get rid of that. So this was performing quite nicely. So at the daily view here, you can see it had a nice little rally. It's been dropping back. Now, that might be due to the upcoming election. Does it have something to do with the Russian and they're not funding the Ukrainians anymore? I don't know. But I just wanted to take note of that. So it had a nice little rally. And that's what I'm saying. The same thing with the Mexican USD Mexican peso. This rally looked pretty good. And I thought it was sustainable. But again, the USD Mexican peso had similar performance, but since the Polish zloty's been dropping back, um, you can see here it's still outperforming. So if I did a 5 day, let's say, the Mexican peso is outpacing it by just a little bit, 2 or 3%. So how long will the Mexican peso continue like this? I don't know in terms of weakening. That's a tough one, but it's still weakening. And I believe this, did I say this was a 5 day view? Yeah, that's a 5 day view. So beyond that, I'm not sure. Any questions so far? If not, that's all I got for you. Maybe another one, the Euro Hungarian's another one to watch. Out of just interest. Um, yes, that's kind of a bit flat. That's all I can see right now. Yeah. Any other questions here? Okay. It doesn't look like it. All right. So this has been synced with the YouTube. So you can watch this on YouTube and you can obviously watch this on the TradingView stream under my user ID. That's pretty well all I got. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.